All right, guys. Well, I know that this room is small enough that you could all probably hear me without this microphone, but I kind of got this thing where I really like hearing my own voice. So, I'm just, exactly, thank you. No, actually, too, not just that is a thing, but also all of the meetups that happen at Capital Factory, including this one, are live streamed on the web. There's a camera right there that's recording everything that you say or do in this room and streaming it on the web. And so they can only hear you if you're talking to one of these microphones. So that's why I'm here doing this. Not that really anybody watches the live stream, because we don't really talk about it that much, but probably should. Anyway, I'm Joe, one of the organizers of this lovely meetup. I want to thank you guys all for coming. I see a lot of new faces out here. Who's never been to this thing before? Shit, that's awesome. Welcome, guys. That's great. How did you hear about the meetup?
Meetup.com.
Meetup.com. That's a great place to hear about it. Well, welcome, guys. This is that's really exciting. We have our format for you guys. Basically, we have like one. I get up here and I just kind of ramble for a little bit, or somebody does, and then we have some announcements. We have one talk. Robbie Byrd over here will be giving the talk, so he'll be up here in a second. And then afterwards, we're going to do some lightning talks, if anybody is interested. Lightning talk, you can just get up here and you can basically force everybody in the room to listen to you about any topic for like 1 to 3 minutes. So if there's anything like a project you're working on, a new library you know about, an event that you want to talk about, anything like that, feel free to come on up. I'm going to go ahead and invite Robert up here. Robert is from Object Rocket, and Object Rocket is responsible for all the delicious food and delicious beer and delicious soda that you're drinking tonight and eating. So big thank you to them, and he's going to tell you a little bit about it.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, so Object Rocket, what is it? There's a number of things that we do. From the beginnings of the company, it was MongoDB as a service. So you basically spin up a MongoDB instance, and it was like really solid scale, able to do lots of fun things. And they use the technology. So the main thing was like running Mongo yourself is really hard, and scaling it is even harder once you get to a certain point. And Object Rocket takes away all that pain from you. And they were acquired by Rackspace. I actually started as Rackspace, and I moved to the Object Rocket team. So under the Object Rocket umbrella now is Redis offering, MySQL, and we also have Hadoop for your big data. So if you're interested in doing anything from old school SQL to new school Redis or Mongo, you can look at Object Rocket. And we're also hiring lots of people. So if you are interested in working on databases and databases as a service, come find me. We're mostly all Python and a little bit of open source here and there, but it's a pretty good company to work for, and it's backed by Rackspace, so that's a large billion-dollar company that's taking on Amazon. They're gonna win. No, they're not.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yes. Question?
Give us some example of what you're good at doing. One example is you have advantage over other competitors. But an example, live example, something that we can understand.
In the like for Object Rocket?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do is instead of like Amazon, for example, uses like RDS. I'll just use that as an example. They spin up MySQL on one of their regular nodes, and I don't know if they use KVM or Zen or whatever the hell they use, but that's like a hypervisor, and all of our stuff uses containers. So you get better I/O off the bat, and just better throughput for running a database. So without even to get the same amount of throughput, you have to add SSDs and super fast I/O underneath it, just to get to where we are, starting off the bat with just spinning disks. So as soon as we start adding Fusion I/O, which Object Rocket does solely, it just blows it out of the water. So, question?
Julython?
Julython.
Is it happening?
It should. Everybody who wants it to happen should come see me too.
Tell everybody what it is.
Yeah.
So Julython is a little side project that I work on. Every year, developers around the world get together in the month of July and write code. And it's easy to participate. All you need to do is go to julython.org, sign up, and add a webhook in your GitHub repositories or your Bitbucket repositories. And every time you do a commit during the month, it'll get scored on the Julython website. So every time you commit, it's worth a point, and every new project that you add is worth 10 points. So it goes your score, and it's a fun little game to play. So if you're working on a project or you're not working on a project, this is the typical use cases. You have some idea in the back of your mind of like what you want to work on, and you never find the time to work on it. Well, July and Julython is the time to work on that project. It gives you a kick in the butt with the community backing you. So that's it.
So it's a thing, it's happening?
It's gonna happen.
It's going.
Sure. Yes.
You mentioned you guys run everything in containers. What are you using? Docker?
Currently, it's all OpenBZ. But we use LXC, but LXC is not quite there for a lot of like networking and like, so if you use SAN volumes and stuff like that, LXC is not really good at like mounting volume container and stuff. And it also doesn't do the rate limiting really well with networking.
Anything on your roadmap to move to another technology?
To some other container like Docker
Yeah.
or LXC. I don't know, maybe it's possible.
Cool.
I'm more on the development side rather than the operations side, so there's technicalities. There's trade-offs in either way. The only problem with OpenBZ right now is it's running on the Linux 2.6 kernel.
Okay.
Which is kind of old.
A little bit.
All right, enough about me. I think we have a talk.
All right, thank you. All right, well, I guess we'll wait till after for the announcements and stuff. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hand it over to Robbie. Do you want to go ahead and get plugged in, make sure he's working on this? I can do one announcement while you're doing that. So the Hi Texas is a Bitcoin conference that happens in Texas, and that's the name, right? And so it's a yearly thing. It happens. I think it's in College Station again this year. I guess I can. It is. I think. Yeah. So that is happening in like. Okay, there was somebody else here who was supposed to talk about this, so excuse me not knowing this. Okay, it's in College Station, September 25th through 27th, so it's a weekend-long thing. And I think they're still looking for people to, they're doing a call for proposals, so they're still looking for people who want to speak. And it's a really great conference. It's not just people from Texas who come to it. It's speakers from all over the world, and people come from different parts of the U.S. To come to this conference. So I think it's a really great opportunity for you guys. There's also, forgive me for not knowing the dates, DjangoCon, which should be of a lot of interest to you guys. But actually this year and next year it's going to be here in Austin. So that's pretty exciting, and highly encourage you guys to check that out. That's a big worldwide conference that's happening right here in our backyard. So highly encourage you to check that out. And that is, let's see, when is that? Does anybody know?
September 6th through the 11th.
What?
6th through the 11th.
September 6th through the 11th. So right before, a week before Pi Texas. So you have Julython, and then you have September, which is the overwhelming month of Python conferences. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now. Let me do the switch thing over there, and I'll give you this. And you can just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Robbie Byrd, and I used to work on the 8th floor here at Lynn Media, now Media General, I think. I'm not really sure. But while I was there, I worked on their content management systems and real-time communication. Obviously, as a news organization, real time is important, and it sort of brought to my attention Autobahn, and I'm glad that I could be here today to kind of give you an overview of Autobahn. I'm probably not going to have as much code as you'd like, and probably not going to have as much answers as you'd like, but I wanted to start off with a sort of a theoretical view of how all this works. The one thing that was really challenging for me when I was getting started was I didn't understand enough about how asynchronous development actually worked. I saw some examples and said, oh, okay, yeah, sure, I can run from there. And it wasn't until I had some of those aha moments after reading some really old, like computer theory stuff from the 70s, that I was like, wow, that makes so much sense. So anyway, again, my name is Robbie Byrd, and I was going to do a funny European accent and say Autobahn, but there's a guy here who has that accent, so they want to make fun of him. But you know, the same thing applies on the real Autobahn as in the software package Autobahn. This is my favorite song, do whatever the fuck you want. And that is exactly how Autobahn works. It does not care about your convention. It does not care about how you've done things in the past. It's just going to let you do whatever you want to do. So we're going to talk about it really quickly. I want to bring up something that some of you probably know all too well. You ever heard of the OSI model for networks? It's like 7, right? Yeah, somebody got their network plus, okay. And the same kind of model applies to Autobahn, and once you see it broken down, I think it'll help you understand a little bit of how it works on the inside. We'll talk really quickly about objects versus actors. You guys, I heard some of the chatter before I was getting ready. You're a lot smarter than I am, so I wanted to spend time there. I feel fucking weird up here. The sync, we're going to do synchronous programming, we're going to do event-based programming, and we're going to do the reactor-style programming, and kind of show you how those little, what I would call little microkernels, that's not even the word, but that's what I call it, so that's what we're going to go with. And then we'll talk about how routing works with Autobahn, specifically with WAMP, not WAMP, it's not what you're thinking, WAMP like swamp, not WAMP like lamp. And finally, then we're going to talk really quickly about PubSub and RPC, and how Autobahn, and more specifically WAMP, mixes those two things together to create a really cool protocol that allows you to do all kind of really neat things. I just want to ask really quickly, if you're in the device monitoring, healthcare, banking, or media industry, raise your hand. Oh wow, what do the rest of you do? Okay. Well, for you guys, this is all going to be really important for you, and I especially think in the next 10 years, because the paradigm here is really sort of made for the kind of data that we deal with. It's timestamp data, it's importance from top to bottom, and it's asynchronous. It doesn't have to work together. At least that's what I see when I've worked in the media industry, when I've consulted with finance and all that other linear stuff that I just said. All right, cool. So it's a real-time framework for building applications, good for chat, trading, multiplayer games, real-time charts, graphs, IoT, that's Internet of Things, banking, media. It's a multi-protocol suite with multiple language bindings, okay? So you can use it across just about any device you can think of. And not just Autobahn, but Autobahn is part of a larger project called WAMP, like swamp, not WAMP, like you'll learn it before the night's up. And yeah, so you can also use other language bindings that aren't Autobahn, but we'll get into that in just a minute. Not language bindings, but libraries that aren't specific to Autobahn, but we'll get there. And it also allows you to stay really high level. I know I'm a huge fan of Python decorators, especially the way that they can transform the way that I code, make it really simple for me to do what I would have said were laborious things in the past. And it's async, so it's fast, super, super fast. And like I said, Autobahn's not the only one, there's more. So this is essentially how Autobahn works, is it operates across all 4 of these different layers of this model: the protocol, the network, the presentation, the data. So yeah, I said we get to the OSI model, and it's pretty similar. And the way that they link up is on your OSI, you have like the network interface card or the actual Ethernet cable. So for us, the bottom of the barrel here is going to be the protocol we use to communicate, right? In this example that we're going to be talking about today, we're going to use WebSocket, but you can also use these other types of technologies: Comet, XMPP, IRC, Twitter, anything that can send timestamp data back and forth. You can use it as a messaging device, right? The network, this is actually going to be our routing system, right? The logical address. How do I get my content from point A to points B through Z or whatever? That's WAMP, and WAMP does the, not WAMP, WAMP, does the RPC and the pub sub. It can also be just a blanket WebSocket server. You don't have to use WAMP. You can use Autobahn to create bare bones WebSocket servers if you have your own protocol. Or you can even use it to create custom things. There are some implementations that I've seen that use UDP for broadcast messages out, which is really kind of cool, but really kind of nerdy and in the weeds. And the presentation, the format, this is how the message is actually transferred from not client to server. We'll talk about that in a minute, but essentially client to server. Autobahn supports these formats, and of course any text will do. You can even send binary data through something like BSON. And of course the top level, that's going to be your application data. All right, so I gave you a lot of things, mix and match here and there, but generally this is what you're going to use. You're going to use a WebSocket as your your data link. You're going to use WAMP as your network, your logical addressing system. Why can I not do that? You're going to use JSON for your delivery of data back and forth, and then of course your data packet, or I like to call WWJD. Really quickly, you guys know the general mise en scène or whatever for objects versus actors. Objects maintain and return data. They call functions on themselves and other objects, and they only are active when they are called or substantiated. Can everybody agree with me on that basic premise? Oh yeah, okay, got 1, great, out of 30. And actors can only send and receive messages. They're essentially stateless. So they communicate back and forth with each other through this sort of weird mesh network that we'll talk about in just a second. And they don't do the sort of normal thing that we do when we use some glue code and we package up some data and then we put it into an object and then we save that object and then we retrieve that object later. That doesn't happen here. You kind of think about asynchronous programming in this with Autobahn as like a bus, and not a bus, but you know what I'm saying, a network bus, right? And so you just got data weaving in and out of it. It's your responsibility to make sure that it gets sent to the appropriate place. So anyway, synchronous task, right? You got 3 tasks here. You got task 1, task 2, task 3. In the synchronous model, they literally happen synchronously. Task 1 runs, task 2 runs, task 3 runs. With threads, we got a little more, intelligent in the way we handled this, but we still had to wait at the very end of the execution to join those threads back together to complete whatever the initial code was, right? So the truth about synchronous programming is that you're not actually working from, so this is time, right? So you've got task 1. You're not actually executing task 1 from here to here. You're only executing it in these small places. That's blocking. That's blocking. And that was the moment that my head exploded. And I was like, wow, that makes so much sense when you see it on a graph. And it did. So each object, function, glue, transaction that you do is essentially blocking. A computer can't work on more than one thing at a time, right? Then we got into event-driven programming, which is a little bit more, so we were getting there, right? But still, we're only reacting to events as they happen, and those, we're essentially sitting there waiting to poll. You know, when you move a mouse across, you know, every time it goes up one, left one, it's going to fire back up one, left one, up one, left one, right? And all the computer does is just respond to those events. It's not a true interactive system where things can, you know, kind of, I'll get there. So with the synchronous, we prioritize those tasks based on what is actually active, what's going to run, right? So we eliminate those blocking points by inserting tasks more intelligently, so that we try to eliminate all of those blocking points and actually use the full timeline of execution. Yeah? All right. So yeah, asynchronous programming, we found it. It's awesome. The events, unlike an event-driven programming, fire independent of a control structure or method. So these events are just firing off all over the place, and there's not like one single thread that fires off these 5 events and then, you know, moves that data together. Yeah. So how it all works is through the reactor. This is the trick that turns a computer, which can't perform more than one task at one time, into something that looks like it can perform more than one task at one time. So what we do is, when we have a piece of code that we want to make it asynchronous, we program it in such a way that it is asynchronous, and we put it into this reactor. And essentially the reactor is, it's like you've ever done like a while true loop, right? That's forever. That's kind of what it does, is it just sits there and forever and ever and ever. But it doesn't poll the function and say, are you ready to do something? It just throws data at it, right? So every time that reactor loops back, it's going to get data thrown at it. And something has to maintain control when all of this data is firing in, and that's what the reactor is for. Oh, and since you're Python people, I mean, Python has generators, and I love generators. The really cool thing about using Autobahn, when you're generating these reactive events, is you just yield a generator to the Autobahn library. I'll show you in just a second. And so literally that generator just sits there, and when it has data to fire off, then it actually goes out, routes the message, fires the actual function, whatever it is you want to do to it. Like if you want to add, you know, 2 numbers together, you pass it 2 numbers and blah. It's really cool, really cool. And so this is inside the reactor, and all of this stuff that I've been talking about is up here, right? And your code is just this tiny little sliver of what's actually going to run. So when we talk about WAMP, we're getting to the fun stuff now. We don't have clients and servers per se. Everything registers with the WAMP router, and the router determines whether someone is a callee or someone is a caller in the event of an RPC command, which I'll talk about later, or a subscriber or a publisher in terms of, you know, PubSub. So this is kind of what a WAMP network would be like. You have a WAMP router in the middle, and you have these back-end components down here, which are registered. What they did is they call the router and they say, hey, I am available to add 2 numbers together. Whenever you have 2 numbers to send me, I'll be happy to do that. And it waits for one of these clients up here to fire that off, and then it adds the 2 numbers and returns them back. And it all goes through this router right here. Come back to that. So the RPC, these are events that are fired with data, and they expect to return value. So this is, you know, get user. So you pass in a profile ID, and it returns back with whatever the data is for the profile, you know, et cetera, and on and on. The RPC commands are really good for browser-to-browser communication, and they're also really good to broadcast with logic, because we'll talk about PubSub in a second, and you'll see that you can't route intelligently with PubSub, but you can with RPC. So essentially, PubSub is logicless, and it's just an open channel, right? So anybody that's authorized, or any application component that's authorized to publish, is just going to publish content, and any client or other application code that's set to listen for those commands as a subscriber, and it's just gonna, okay, sure, whatever you say. They don't return value either, so it's truly a one-way communication street. Now, that's not to say that a desktop browser couldn't also be a publisher on the same channel, right? Because we've got Autobahn JS, we've got Autobahn Android, we've got Autobahn C++. We can use any of those languages to both publish and subscribe, or call a remote method, or receive data from a remote method. So quickly, I don't know what my time is. I want to show you guys a, whoops, that is really tiny. Okay. Closer. All right, so this is straight out of the examples, but it shows you kind of how these things are structured. We're using Twisted here. You can easily use async IO. The great thing about Autobahn is that it really has sort of unified the way that it works with the two underlying libraries, so you shouldn't notice any significant difference. There may be some naming conventions. I think async IO uses futures, and Twisted uses deferreds. They're all essentially the same, but there may be some differences there. But long story longer, this is our actual server. So this is the backend component that is going to publish content to a channel. So let's see. Yeah. So the nice thing about Autobahn is it makes it really easy to code this stuff. So I have an inline callbacks here decorator, and then I define my function of onJoin, and it's kind of the same on join, on leave, on disconnect. There's a lot of conventional things that you'll use there. But on this one, oh, damn it. There we go. I don't even remember what I said. So we're just gonna join the channel, and we've called it channel here in PubSub. You have to publish to a channel. So we've got a channel here that we're publishing to, and we're just you see we're incrementing by one, sleeping, and then just doing it all over again. So this is actually just going to spit out an event every second, and I will prove to you that it does. Hope that it does. I don't have Wi-Fi, so I'm tethered through my phone.
It's probably faster.
Oh God! The day I always feared.
You want me to get you on?
That would be great. Yes, thank you.
Just Capital Factory.
Oh, there it is. It's so fun to watch me connect to the Wi-Fi now. Thank you so much. Before I could have blamed it on a network issue, now I have another excuse. Oh, there we go, yay, all right. So what's happening is I have a Heroku box that actually runs the WAMP router. Remember I talked about you had to have a router in the middle? And that's a whole other conversation. I'll be happy to come back and talk about the WAMP routers. But so what we're doing is we're just connecting to that, and every second we're sending to this channel right here. We're just incrementing the number and sending that. So we can go over here into our HTML. Go. And I didn't have have time to really sort of make this fancy, but if you can see the Mac console down there. So this one just connects lessons for 10 events and then closes. I know that's not very exciting, but it is really cool what's happening under the hood here. I've got a server program that's on my computer that is connected to an external router, which is then sending messages back into a JavaScript and some really simple HTML page back here in real time. I'd have killed somebody for that 4 or 5 years ago and then marketed it as my own idea. So, again, I think I might actually be early. I timed this at home and I was like way ahead.
Yeah, you got one.
Okay. Well, no, I'm almost done. So, yeah.
I don't know if you're going to talk about this all, but is there any type of like authentication or anything? Can anybody connect to your?
Very good. Now, there's 2 levels of authentication here. There's basic WebSocket authentication, and the server is going to look for the typical things that you would look for without any kind of authentication, like IP address, that kind of stuff. So a lot of times for the internal stuff, if you have like, so for instance, there's a project on here that I want to go back to really quickly. We would deal with breaking news from the Associated Press when I worked Media General. And not all of the content that they sent along when they sent a breaking news alert was really all that important. For us, the immediate thing was to get the headline and get the, just the bare bones copy of the story and get it online as quickly as possible. So we use sort of this like deferred tree method. I may not even be answering your question at all, but we use this sort of deferred tree method where we would get the most important part first, process that first, and then kind of go down the line until we finally got to the point where we're like, okay, so now we're going to create, sort of a standard object and then store that in like a NoSQL database. But that was always our last thing because it was the least time critical. The most time critical thing was getting the, I don't even remember the damn question anymore, but.
Well, it was about auth, but that was another really thing you said.
Sorry. So there's that level auth, and then you can also do application level auth. The WAMP router has basic username, password, clear text, or you can exchange public keys back and forth. That's all in the config of the WAMP router, though. And just so you know, the big one is crossbar.io. It's available free. I suggest don't try to install it. It's a pain in the ass. The documentation's about 3 weeks old, always. And so they have a Heroku example. That's the best. I set it up in like 2 minutes and it was done. And one of the nice things about this too is you can actually run application code within the router. So if you have some pretty standard stuff and stuff that you want to utilize high I/O, right there on a local machine, then you can put those functions right there, in the router. So that's nice. Don't know why I went into all of that. Hi.
You were talking about actors and you were talking about objects.
Yeah.
Just pretty quick.
Yeah.
Give me an example.
Sure. We deal with at Media General, we dealt with the National Weather Service quite a bit. And forecasts from the National Weather Service to us were obviously objects. They were things that came in. They were, a bulk sort of collection of data, and they generally didn't change. If they did, we only had to manage a couple of revisions. A weather alert, such as a tornado warning, thunderstorm warning, anything like that. That kind of stuff doesn't need to be processed and stored and then churned out through the same processes that we used before to deliver information, because then you've got TTLs and all that crap. So with this, we had an actor, and the actor job was to receive real-time alerts from the NWS and then turn around and turn that information back to push alerts, SMS. In some cities, we actually call people with, this is WKAM's News Weather Center. Just whatever it was. And so that's my practical example of object and actor thinking. Does that answer your question?
Kind of, because I know several definitions and they change from field to field. This is why I'm more interested in your, like, this is like what you call actors, or is it like formal definition that you decide upon, or?
I think it's a broad term. I'm sure that you know, if I had a master's or a PhD in computer science, we'd be having a different conversation. But you know, from my elementary understanding of how the two, you know, the theory of both systems work, an object is a car, and an actor would be a self-driving car. It works on its own, essentially. Yeah. I know Copacabana too.
In the PubSub example you were using, is there a way for the clients to tell where they are in the stream, or is that up to you to implement the application level?
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is if I loaded a page at 5 minutes into some kind of live thing that was going on, I would only see from 5 minutes plus, right? This is kind of, so I don't think any of this is ready to replace any kind of standard CMS or delivery system today, right? I think it might work for a mobile API, but that's different. So I think that you're always going to serve that first bit of content through, at least for now, some kind of static system. Like we used WordPress, so we delivered the actual first impression of that story and like a landing page, say like the news category page. And then we opened a remote connection from there and we listened for events. Did we miss events sometimes? Sure. Because the real time is obviously a lot faster than the cached version that we're TTLing at like 2, 3, 5 minutes. So it's just a delicate balance between the two. You can use what we would call ticks, I guess. So send a timestamp almost of when the server connected, or when the client connected to the server, and it can roll back so far if you wanted it to. Once it announces itself on the channel, you know, I'm here, give me everything back. So I'm sure that was helpful at all.
Kind of. My question was more about if you had like a client, not a really web page consuming the content. So I guess you send up a timestamp and then request everything from that point to now. Yeah,
there's not anything in either of the sort of the protocol layers for past session data. Really, it's all about, you know, it's really pretty stateless if you think about it. So it's difficult to do that kind of thing.
So it doesn't like buffer anything?
You could use a message queuing system for that.
Is that PubSub channel writable if there's no clients connected?
Yeah.
Okay. And if they connect after you've written data to it, will they get that first data?
No, it's literally a real-time thing. It doesn't buffer. I mean, I'm sure that
put a message queue on it though, yes. and read from the message queue and achieve the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's a slowdown. What you're talking about doing there, and that's okay. But that's going to put a significant sort of barrier. So you only want to do that for the most, you know, if it's really important that you have all the data. Some of the stuff that I talked about earlier about Internet of Things, media, sometimes banking. It's not always important that all of the data arrives at the same time, or even necessarily that it arrives. So that's sort of how the approach that they used when they were building this library, is that it's a stateless real-time application. So a rollback DVR-like function wasn't, you know, something that they wanted to implement, because that introduces a blocking element in and of itself. Or at least a slowdown in the system. Does that make sense?
So what are the advantages of this over like raw service and events for websites?
Abstraction and the routing is really cool. Let's see, with the sleep. When you're, at least it's been my experience that writing twisted applications is really sort of aggravating. I don't really care for it. But with the Autobahn, it's really, really nice. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong one. So yeah, these inline callbacks are really awesome. You can see here where we on-join. Yeah, here it is. And then we subscribe to topic 1, we subscribe to topic 2. I mean, that's just so pretty, right? I just feel that that's Pythonic and so much easier than, you know, doing an application runner and all that fun stuff.
Going back to the RPC mechanism, how does client register itself to RPC through the WAMP router?
Isn't that awesome? I love the question. It's like one line, and it's great. If I can find it. So here, if you can see, I have I've created an application component, and I've set my on join, and my on join runs that while true, where it publishes content to that channel. Sorry, so one more time.
So like your client your application session is opening here. How can I send a message to this application session and request something of it?
It's very similar. Let me show you some RPC examples. There's not a whole lot of change in like the convention. You just use some different functions. But they essentially register themselves with the router, and they say, "Hey, here I am, and I am ready to do, you know, function A," and their Java type like com dot whatever dot whatever. So yeah, so you create a class, whatever this is going to be, and then using the register decorator, you register the service, and then you define the function just underneath, and that's it.
So the same application can register com.mathservice.add2 and com.google.search or something?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just an address.
Exactly, and it doesn't really matter because, you know, that naming convention doesn't mean anything to us. Well, Python anyway. So yeah, no, it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't matter if you're working on a local router or a remote router either. It all operates the same way. I did some digging, and even if you are like local hosting in 127, it's still gonna loop all the way back around. It doesn't try any shortcuts. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. RPC is cool, and I wish that I would have done less of the intro and more of the code, but yeah, it's really cool.
So it seems like this is kind of well suited to using like a different protocol like UDP, but not really, because it's also sitting on top of like lots of like OSI application level stuff. So can you, I guess that's not a question, huh?
No, I knew it was coming. Do you write assembly?
No.
All right, so there you go. We have evolved.
I don't want to be a C programmer about it or anything. but is there a way, like using like async IO or assisted, like to switch out like some of the lower level networks?
Absolutely. You can remove and replace any parts of my little fake OSI layer thing that doesn't exist. And let me go back to that, because I wanted to show you guys one other thing. So pardon me while I find it. So so you can literally pull all these pieces out. Autobahn is a WAMP WebSocket Python thing, right? You can, in the WAMP specification is open source. That's WAMP.ws, I think. and they have WAMP routers written in Erlang, which is like perfect. Erlang's a message actor thing. So yeah, you can switch out any of the stuff that you want to. Like I said, you can switch async IO and twisted just like that by changing the library. And you can do the same thing. If you want to create your own sort of routing protocol, just use WebSocket. I didn't go into any of that, but there is like a way to use Autobahn. It's just a pure WebSocket server too. So you guys keep bringing videos about hands up, or? Okay. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys for letting me come and talk. I really am passionate about this real-time stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all guys at the next meetup. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure. I'll ask a question. Can you talk a little bit more about Crossbar IO?
Yeah.
And the router implementation?
Crossbar.io is really complicated. It's a Python application that creates a Py environment that runs another Python application. Right? So essentially, Crossbar.io is really good as a bare bones router.
Sorry. Let me make it easier for you. So actually, I wrote a application that we currently use to connect to a bunch of Internet of Things devices. So I have background with Autobahn and WebSockets and all of that. So yeah, that'll make it a little easier for you to explain. So where does Crossbar, I understand that Crossbar IO fits into and acts as a router for the pub sub concept?
And also the RPC as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not fully, can you give an example of where something that, I guess the pub sub is where that would really be useful?
Actually, no. The pub sub part of WAMP's routing is actually sort of the easy part. The more complicated and I think the more fun part is the actual routing for the RPC. So I connected to that WAMP router. Do I see WAMP? I do. I connected to that WAMP router from here and registered an application or a function rather. I could do that from another computer across town, and I could still call that from right here. So not only does the WAMP router move data from caller to callee, it also moves data from caller to the correct callee as sort of a broker. I don't think I answered your question.
No. Like, I really was just trying to learn more about Crossbar. I wasn't familiar with Crossbar previously as a router, so what we did instead was simply have one centralized, WebSocket server, and everybody connects to that, and we just talk over WebSockets.
What kind of challenges do you face when you're just using a WebSocket versus?
Like, we don't really have any, and I'm not even using the WAMP implementation. It's pure WebSocket.
So you just use it for PubSub?
Yeah, actually, we also don't even use PubSub. So, like, there's a lot of extended functionality that I can probably take advantage of.
So, okay, so you're using it basically like an ROC channel when you're just broadcasting data.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or specifically sending data through, a different kind of, I guess I wrote my own, without the understanding of WAMP.
That makes sense, and that was one of the reasons why, like I said, I wanted to focus on like the whole side and sort of the intro stuff, because it's like, wow, it makes sense. I don't know that it sounds like that, but something similar. Okay, all right, yeah, no takers.
Thanks, Ron.
Hey, thank you guys. Wow. Thank you so much, I really appreciate it.
Sweet. That was very informative. So Robbie will be around if you guys have any questions. We can just hang out for a bit. If anybody has lightning talks, announcements they want to make, I know we've got one announcement. Come on up. so you can come on up. Jeremy, I know that you want to say something about High Texas, so you can come on up too. I gave like a really half-assed like sentence about it at the beginning, so I apologize in advance for misinformation. But if anybody else wants to give a lightning talk or anything like that, go for it. I think there's still more food in the back. There's definitely still more beer, so help yourselves. But yeah.
Thank you. Hey guys, my name is Katie, and I own a company here in Austin. It's called Re3D. We make the world's largest, most affordable 3D printer. It's called Gigawatt. We have a unit downstairs. I don't know if you've seen it at the events or anything, but we also manufacture out of Houston, Texas. We have a manufacturing facility there. So our primary focus for the past 2 years has been building the hardware and shipping it. And then this past year, we just ran our second successful Kickstarter campaign. And that campaign was around the usability of 3D printing and making it more accessible. And so this unit has a touchscreen that's embedded into the front of the printer, and we're using a BeagleBone Black with a Arduino. We're writing all the coded Python TK inner, and using Arduino IDE. We just Arduino IDE. Both are really easy to learn and easily hackable. So the concentration of this printer is to make it user-friendly and at the same time hackable for people who want to build their own features or add features onto 3D printers. This was largely due to feedback that we got from our community. And so this is a community-first approach. We have 12 pre-purchased units from half from our previous customers and half our new customers, and we're doing community hangouts on Google community platforms to schedule and like talk about features that we're developing. We had one team member that was with us for that really pushed for this project with me, and he has like a 10-month-year-old, so he had to leave the project, but he got the Python code up to 70% of the way there. So right now we're just trying to put our feelers out there and see if anybody's interested in working on the project and getting it done to completion. It's open source, so we're just writing all of it and publishing it online to our GitHub and to this new platform. It's called Webullbear. They're a Dublin-based company that we met when we were there for a summit. If anyone's interested, I've been posting on some of the forums on meetup.com and AngelList and a couple others, so you'll probably see my post. Yes.
Has to be local?
Local? No, it does not. No, absolutely not. Yeah, we're very flexible and we're a fun team, and we see everything as being like a learning opportunity. But this is like a community project, so really we're just interested in coming to spaces like this where people like you are really engaged with community, and this is like the type of crowd that we're interested in engaging with. So any type of level of contribution, we publish what we have today online. And yeah, I think this is just really cool, and it's an honor to be in front of you guys and meet everyone, and hopefully I'll come to a couple other meetups and I'll probably see a couple familiar faces. So actually I see Jeff in the back. I don't know if you remember me, but we did a hackathon like 2 years ago. When I was working at NASA, we did I forget the name that we came up with. Yes. But the project that we came up with was, I think it was like, do you remember the name of it? It was about organizing astronaut photography and attaching metadata to it. Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of cool. So Samantha, who is also on the team, she's now one of our co-founders. So yeah, okay, this is cool. So it was nice to meet you guys. I just wanted to come up and give an announcement. So I'll hand off the mic now, but if you're interested, I'll leave my info at the front. Our company is re3d.org, so if you have any questions, you can just email me, Katie at re3d.org. Yeah, thank you. I should have brought water. I didn't think there would be some. I'll put more flyers up here.
My name is Jacob Barhak. I'm unaffiliated, I'm a freelancer. However, the reason I'm here is because something that started at the last Python meetup. So, how many of you were in last Python meetup 2 Wednesdays ago? 1, 2, 3 people. Okay, 4. Okay, 4, 5. I see maybe. At the end of the meetup, Peter asked how many people are interested to do something like a hackathon, coding night, and many hands were raised. And then he was looking for a volunteer, and I accidentally raised my hand. So, yeah. So now we're trying to figure out when to do it. Part of the reason is here is trying to figure out how many of you people are interested in going to a coding night like that. It will be hosted in the one place. Currently, Continuum Analytics have agreed to provide a space for it. It will be on the 3rd week every month, hopefully. We're trying to still figure out a day. But how many of you people are interested at all in doing something like this? 9. It's about 30% of the people here. It's quite good. So in that case, how many of you will be interested in doing this on a Tuesday? Tuesday, 1. On a Wednesday? You can raise your hand on several of those.
I'll tell you what, how about you make it a Friday or a Saturday and I'll raise my hand.
Really? Friday and Saturday were not an option, actually. We're not thinking, we actually kind of overruled Monday, and Friday doesn't seem to be an option. But unless, let's try it again. Thursday, third Thursday of the month. 3 people. Friday, you're saying?
No.
No.
I spend my nights at home on Friday.
Yeah. Okay, Thursday seems to be the best option for most of you. So what you're going to be expecting is follow your meetup, the big Python group meetup, and you'll see some announcement there at some point. I'll still have to coordinate with Continuum, but know that this is coming up, and now that I heard about Julython, maybe we'll coordinate it together. And if anyone else is interested in doing some Python coding nights, you'll see an announcement on Meetup. So this is a pre-announcement. Watch out your Meetup pages.
They don't like it when you do that.
Hi guys. Do we have a stream?
Yeah, come plug in.
Okay. Will this work? No.
Yeah.
I don't have an HD.
You learn something new every day, Jay. Give it 1 second. Did it turn black? Nope.
Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, so as Joe mentioned, I'm here to talk about PyText's hopefully better than he did. Can you all read that? So PyText.org is coming up toward the end of September, 25th through 27th. It is going to be in College Station again, but people are actually not as mad about that as I expected, which is a good thing. I'm mostly here to tell you that the call for proposals is out and is ending in mid-July. And we opened up registration last night, and that early bird is also ending in mid-July. So I strongly recommend that you come sign up, because although the individual prices are the same price this year, corporate prices are up a little bit, and you get a $20 discount if you sign up by July. That helps me as the money guy make a lot of decisions earlier, and I would appreciate it. But also, we've already got like a few talks coming in, one on PySide. This is not displaying well. One on PySide, another one on formatting, which I think is supposed to be on, was it Raymond Henniger that did the talk at PyCon?
Like formatting your screen here?
Yeah, that would be nice, right? But I'm here mostly to tell you, you don't have to spend a ton of time on your proposal. Don't spend a month preparing a proposal. If you have an idea and you think you can put it together, put it in, and we'll let you know if, the sooner we have enough submissions, the sooner we can let you know whether we think it's a good idea, and then you can work on it. And that also gives you the opportunity to work on your talk here, and, or at the Python meetup, before you have to give it in front of a larger group. So sign up by July 19th, I'll get to you in a second. Please propose a talk, and then plan on coming to College Station. It's on a football weekend, so it should be fun. That's an important consideration. So, all right, what is your?
Well, I was just curious, like what? I mean, obviously Python-related things, but like, what is there any specific topics or anything?
No, I mean, so the good thing about PyTex is that it's actually super liberal about what we'll accept. I was actually just telling somebody the other day, if you wanted to come give a Go for Pythonistas talk, I would be totally interested. We're not really, like, it's just Python-related stuff. So we actually had somebody give a talk. Jesse Noller was actually in for the keynote last year and gave a talk on like API design, and it had nothing to do with Python specifically, but it was, it was Jesse Noller, so it made sense. Yeah, we didn't say no. We begged him, but that we're really liberal about what we'll accept, and we mostly just want a good, lively discussion. But it's a great opportunity to meet other developers in the Python area if you're hiring. We have sponsorship opportunities, and I am the person to talk to about that. So I will trade you a table for dollars, and we can talk about that. So it's a really good conference. It's growing. This is the 9th year, and last year we had 222 people, which is the most we ever had. We expect more than that this year. So please submit a talk and sign up so I have a budget. So anyway, that's it. Any questions? Any other PyTex questions? No. All right. Cool.
All right. Well, anybody else have anything else they want to talk about? Say, lightning, anything? All right, sweet. Adjourn. You guys can hang out here for the next, 20, 25 minutes, and then I probably will not be joining you tonight, but most of the time we just head out to Chicago House and drink some more beer and make that place the nerdiest bar in Austin for the night. So thanks for coming, everybody.